Hi everyone, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us today live, doing a Q&A every Monday and Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, to discuss immigration laws, what's going on with your case potentially, not your specific case, but the ideas behind your case, what typically happens, and more clarifications on the confusion of U.S. immigration law. And today we're live on TikTok, Immigration Lawyer John, as we are every weekday. And on Wednesday, special, we're on YouTube Live, so our new YouTube subscribers could check in and ask questions if they like. Again, and Instagram, TikTok is live every day, but Wednesdays on YouTube. Tomorrow we're going to be on Instagram, JQK Law Firm, and Friday it's going to be on Facebook. But you can always catch the recorded videos of this on YouTube, as well as clips of it on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, everywhere, JQK Law Firm, except for TikTok, where it's Immigration Lawyer John. And if you are on any of these platforms, especially on YouTube, click the subscribe button, click the bell icon so you get updates with information and news about the immigration laws and what's going on, and so you can stay in touch and know what's going on with all frankly, the craziness that's happening in the world of immigration. And so I'm about to jump into it really quick, just to let you know this is general education only. It's not meant for individual advice on what to do with your case, because I need to talk with you and review your documents to be able to give that kind of advice, and this is not the forum for that, so it's not the best place to ask those kind of questions. But in general, list your questions. If I can answer or help provide some guidance, why not? We'll throw it out there. We have people trickling in and the group's getting larger. So waiting for that. I'll talk about a couple of things I wanted to discuss before we do get started, but feel free to put your questions in there. I just got notification that my first client got their citizenship oath ceremony naturalization. So they after the coronavirus, so they had applied for a citizenship case. They mistakenly, USCIS denied the case. We had to fight and get it open. It took about 3 or 4 weeks. By the time they reopened and approved the case, the coronavirus happened, so they shut down the oath ceremonies, and so you have to wait months. But today, he just came back from his oath ceremony, got the naturalization certificate. He's really happy. He wants to apply for his passport as soon as possible. That's going to be delayed because the passport office is being slow, just like USCIS is, just like the Social Security offices. All the things have slowed down and not working properly, but it was really exciting news. Another thing I wanted to mention to have people prepare for, and it's something I deal with all the time, which is when you are submitting documents to USCIS or the State Department, just the U.S. government for immigration purposes, they expect documents to look in a certain way. So if you bring a marriage certificate, they expect the marriage certificate or maybe the birth certificate to be in a certain way. And the way they break it down is if you go and type in visa reciprocity charts. This is the State Department's website that breaks down how documents should look like for every country. So you go to the visa reciprocity page for the Department of State, and there you look up the country you're coming from, and it has a breakdown of how certain documents should look like in those countries. And if your documents don't match, that's a problem. For example, in France, the birth certificates are issued by the local city council or something like that, and the national one, that's like a multi-language EU extract of a birth certificate, is not acceptable. They won't accept that. So typically you think this official looking document from the government there is okay, but it's not. It has to be from the city. And you find that out by going to the visa reciprocity page for France or wherever country you're looking for, and then looking up the birth certificate factor. And that's something I do when we start a case with a client. First thing I do is see how the documents look like in their country. And this constantly changes and it gets updated. So even though I may have done 10 cases from China, I did 10 cases from Mexico, every time I have to double check to see if something has changed, how it looks, how they expect it. And so do that the same if you have your case, because you get RFEs, requests for evidence, and easily denials for not providing the document that looks the proper way that it should have. So you go to Visa Reciprocity, check it out, and sometimes I've had it where USCIS incorrectly says, oh, that's the wrong document, and I print out the Visa Reciprocity chart, highlight what it says is the correct document, and I'll resend that to them. I had this in a case of Ukraine where a woman got divorced, and the divorce certificate, there's 2 types. If you have a child, the divorce certificate for a Ukrainian person looks one way, but if you didn't have children, it looks another. And they had a child, so it looked one way, and we got an RFE, a request for evidence, saying it's the inappropriate, incorrect divorce certificate, and we had to respond back to show that the difference, how the divorce certificates look in that country for a child. So the individual cases here I'm talking about are just examples, but that's something to do to check how your documents are supposed to look like according to Visa Reciprocity chart. And if it's not it, then send it back or contact your local government or home government or wherever it is and say, hey, no, no, this isn't how it's supposed to look like. We need to correct it because it will be a problem down the line. So we had a question that was posted here. Let me back it up a little bit, see what's going on. Salwa, hey, thanks for joining. Jundal says, my tenure is not approved yet. I'm still waiting for my interview. So I can apply for citizenship. So what I think you're talking about here is you have a conditional green card. This is when you get married to a U.S. person and get your green card that way. But because your marriage was less than 2 years old at the time of the issuance of the green card, they give you a conditional green card, which is valid for 2 years. Around the 1 year, 9 month mark to 2 year mark, when that green card is about to expire, you have to apply for another application called Form I-751, removal of conditions, to get a full 10-year green card. And that application, the point of it is to show that your relationship was real, it wasn't a fake one. It's for the government to kind of double check to see if it's real. So you have the I-751 pending, and that sometimes takes, most recently I got one approved in like 7.5 months, but on average it's a year for me. For other people, and according to USCI, it's more like 1.5 to 2 years. But that takes a long time. In the meantime, if you've been living and married to a U.S. citizen during that 2 year and 9 month period, 3 year period, and even if the I-751 is pending, you can still file for U.S. citizenship once you satisfy the time requirements. That's the exception version, being a spouse of a U.S. citizen and living with that U.S. citizen at the 3 year mark. You could file for U.S. citizen while the I-751 case is still pending. So you'll have a removal of conditions from I-751 case pending. The 3 years is coming up. You could file for a naturalization, Form N-400. If your case is good, if you don't have problems with the N-400, you could submit that and have both cases pending at the same time. And so that does come up because the I-751s are taking so long nowadays that these things do take that long. And so that's something that I recommend doing if your case is appropriate. I don't know your specific case, so I can't advise you to do that. Maybe contact my office. My email is info@jqqlaw.com, and we can schedule a paid consultation to review what's going on, or contact another attorney. But just important, review to make sure there's no issues there, and then you can file for citizenship. Now, one problem that happens is sometimes the removal of conditions takes so much longer that your citizenship application will get an interview, and they'll call you in. The thing is, they can't approve a citizenship case until the I-751 is approved. In those cases, I go with my client and I say, listen, USCIS, please do the interview for the I-751 right now. Let's get it out of the way. And once that's approved, walk us over to the citizenship room and do that interview too, and get both the I-751 approved today and get the citizenship case approved today. Let's get it out there. Now, if you go by yourself, sometimes you're always shy. It's kind of intimidating to push that. But if you are going alone and your I-751 is still pending, but you have a citizenship interview coming up, go there and let them know, hey, my I-751 is not approved yet. Please, I want to talk to a manager. I want to get this both done today. Do you have the file currently at the local field office, which they probably would? Okay, let's get an officer. Let's do the interview. Let's get it out. Now, in light of it being the coronavirus, COVID-19, there being less officers, kind of stuff, I'm not sure how easygoing they'll be on that, but you know, in the past is how I've done it. Now, these are all new, these interviews are opening up. I don't know how strict they'll be because they'll say we don't have enough officers, but that's what you'll do, and eventually you get both those approved, you do your oath ceremony, and you become a U.S. citizen, which is the end goal of all this kind of stuff, to get done with the immigration process. I know how frustrating it is. But yeah, so back to your question, if your I-751 case is pending, yes, you can. You potentially can file for citizenship, even though that case is pending. But I would need to review your individual case to give advice on that. And that's that. So let me move on to YouTube. We got a question. AK asks, how long does a spouse immigration take? Please answer it. Well, you know, one thing is I don't answer timelines because it varies for cases. So what your question is, there's different types of spousal cases. There's different issues at the embassies, different background issues. So I'm not able to answer an individual question. If you want to schedule a private consultation, we could generally talk about it. But you have to keep in mind with the coronavirus and things being shut down, less employees going to work, all these timelines get changed. But there's no answer to the question you have because it's really broad. We need to narrow it down a lot. Even then, there's no good answer. But feel free to schedule a consultation and we could discuss that there. Binsby, thank you for sharing. And if you haven't already, please subscribe on YouTube, JK Law Firm. If you're on TikTok, you know, go to the page and follow so you get more updates like this. I like having a lively group asking questions. I enjoy it. One of a kind asks, a friend of mine came illegally in 1977 and child is U.S. born. What are chances of getting a green card? Well, if your friend entered illegally, if the child's U.S. citizen and 21, which the child is right now, they could start the process. But the problem is that because they had unlawful entry, they've now accumulated, they can't apply for a green card within the United States, and they've accumulated so much what's called unlawful presence days. If they leave the United States to go do an interview at the U.S. Embassy to get the green card, they're going to get what's called a 10-year ban. And what you need is a waiver of that 10-year ban. But you can't waive that ban based on having a U.S. citizen child. The waiver only applies if you're married to a U.S. citizen or your parents are U.S. citizens or green card holders. Married to a green card holder, parents are green card holders. There's much more to this. It's called an I-601A waiver, but with a child alone will not help it. Now, some people might have exceptions. There's a 245I exception. If someone had a green card case pending before 2000 house started, I'll need to know about your friend's background more. Maybe your friend traveled on advanced parole. Maybe your friend has TPS. So there's a lot going on that I would need to know. But generally, it's not going to be easy. There are issues that make it most likely not possible. But maybe there are some exceptions, and that's why consultation is needed to review their immigration case, review their background, to see what's going on, and then you could take it from there. But I hope that answered your question. One of a kind asks, let's see, any deportation happened during the stage process? Okay. Dermo asks, how long is the work-based I-485 taking these days? It varies. It could be a few months. It could be a lot of months. Go to uscis.gov and look up case processing times. I am going to kind of move through questions about times. You can go to uscis.gov for information. It's not reliable, and I don't want to give out unreliable information, so I'm going to skip over questions related to time. On YouTube, Chase Lim says, hi, Mr. John Khosravi. May I please ask how many months does an I-485 EB3 recital take to process? It depends on the case, Chase. So there's a lot of factors I would need to know. You can check the visa bulletin how it is, but these things jump around. For example, the EB3 category. I had an interview. EB3 is employment-based 3 unskilled workers. On March 4th, I went to an interview with USCIS for a guy to do his final EB3 interview, get the green card. When we go there, the officer said, no, there's a thing called retrogression. I'm like, what's that? What is retrogression? Well, I know what it means. It means so many green cards have been given an EB3 category that they backed up all of a sudden. Now, if I had come in 5 days earlier, the last day of February, we could have got the green card. But I came like in March 4th or something like that, and retrogression happened, and the case went back 3 years. So people are getting their green cards who applied 3 years ago. So the long and short of it is, there's no reliable answer to these timeline questions, so I can't answer that. And plus, for EB3, you have an employer that's doing your green card case. So, contact your employer and talk with them, and they're a lawyer. They can help you. They know a case more specifically than me, and that's the appropriate way to handle it. Sunrise asks, I had a reentry permit. Where can I put it on Form N400? Form N400 is a citizenship form. A reentry permit is a form of travel document that permits you to be up to outside the United States up to 2 years. There is no place to put it on the N400. That information of having a reentry permit is not needed, but if you've had long absences from the United States, that could be a problem for citizenship, so I'd recommend consulting with an immigration attorney to see how that goes. And AK follows up, how long does it get a case to get I-130 approved? Please visit uscis.gov. They have case processing times for various service centers that handle it. Some service centers are 6 months, some are 14 months. And so it depends on who's handling your case, and I need more information about your case. Will you get an RFE? Do you have the documents necessary? And that's why I'm just going to skip questions related to timelines, because it's not appropriate for me to just guess stuff in a public forum like this that's recorded. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Thanks. You're welcome, June. Let's see. Thanks for the flower. Sorry, we got a lot of stuff backed up. One of a kind. You're welcome. Okay, so we caught up. We have some new questions coming. I'm hi to you as well. Thank you for joining. Let me know what part of the country where you're joining from. It's interesting to hear. We mentioned a reentry permit. I want to talk about that because it's something that's really important to do nowadays. It's an issue that's coming up a lot. If you're a green card holder, you're not supposed to really be outside the United States for 6 months, and really not supposed to be out for more than a year. They're usually pretty flexible, but you don't want to mess around. And so what happens is sometimes people need to go outside, go back to their home country, for example, for a bit. They're cleaning up, have a court case, or they're selling the house, and they need to deal with that. So what we do is we apply for what's called the reentry permit, Form I-131. It's a form of travel document. The form is I-131. And you're telling the government beforehand that I'm going to be outside for an extended period of time. Please, forgive us. Don't create problems for us. I'm not abandoning my green card. And most of the time, they're pretty flexible about it, and they give it. And so that's easy as that. But a couple of notes: when you do file for a reentry permit, you have to physically be inside the United States. If you're not in the United States when it's submitted in the hands of the government, then they will easily deny the case. There's nothing you can do about it. Secondly, there usually is a fingerprinting appointment that comes up as well, so you need to be there for the fingerprinting appointment. And so that's another reason you got to stay in the U.S. And like when things like coronavirus happen, when they shut down the fingerprinting appointments, there's a delay until that happens, so it really messes up with your travel plans, having to come back and forth. So this coronavirus situation really messed stuff up. Now, the reentry permit itself has nothing to do with U.S. citizenship. It's only intended to maintain residency in the U.S. by telling the government beforehand that I'm going to be absent. But for citizenship, having absences of more than 6 months or even multiple absences of 4 or 5 months can lead to a denial if the officer wants it to. So just because you have a reentry permit, it doesn't have any effect on applying for citizenship. They're unrelated factors in both of that. Now, the reentry permit itself, the form is $500 or $600. It's not a complicated form. It's only 5 pages. They would probably be increasing that. You have to specify that the reason why you're traveling, what dates you are, and all that kind of stuff. And usually they give you like 2 years for the first one, 2 years for the second one, and then 1 year intervals for the following ones. But it depends on how long you've been outside the United States in the last 5 years or since you got your green card. There's a calculation involved there that they look into. And when the travel permit, the reentry permit is issued, it's kind of like a booklet, it's kind of like a passport, and it can act as a green card substitute. Let's say you have a travel document, reentry permit, and you lose your green card, that could be a substitute to let you back in the United States. So the airlines may not understand that that is the case. Now, it's really important people get this because this coronavirus really is an example of this. People went back to their home country going on a 3 or 4 month trip, and all of a sudden the airlines are shut down, their family's sick, they don't want to leave, and they're out 7, 8, 9 months or something like that. And so I always tell people, if there is some travel back and forth to a home country that's going to be more than a week-long vacation, you should just apply for the reentry permit and have that. And it's better to be safe than later on have an accusation of abandonment of status. So it's really important to think about the reentry permit and have that in your plans once you get a green card if there's any travel plans happening. Okay, so we have some follow-up questions. AK asks, when you get interviewed in the U.S. for your spouse, does your spouse also have to interview who is outside the U.S.? No. AK, your question doesn't make sense. If your spouse is overseas, they're not going to interview you in the U.S. So that's that. All right, so Aim asks, can you be here since card, please? Your question doesn't make sense. Could you rephrase that? Farhad asks, which state are you in? I'm in California, but my location doesn't matter. Pretty much all the cases that I handle is done by mailing the USCIS, the Immigration Department, and the National Visa Center, the embassies. So my location doesn't matter. Everything is done by mail. Thank you for sharing live. Hash asks, are you taking cases? Yes, I'm an active law firm. We're taking cases. What you should do is email my office and describe the immigration issue that you have if you're interested in communicating. And then once I know, I could tell you if I handle that particular type of case, and and always a consultation is needed, whether it's a 30-minute, 1 hour, or longer consultation, and how much the consultation fee would be for that issue based on how much research and time is needed. There are always a consultation fee with my office, but it depends on how much services are needed. Just send me an email and I can break that there for you. Let's see. Okay, so we got a good group on YouTube. We got a good group on TikTok. We're halfway done for today. Thank you everyone who's joined. I really enjoy having these live sessions and talking to you because I know this immigration stuff could be really confusing. I mean, speaking about confusing, we just talked about the travel document, which is a reentry permit travel document. There's another travel document called advanced parole. And advanced parole is a permission to be able to re-enter the United States after being here for some sort of, usually humanitarian reason. It's given pretty freely if you're applying for adjustment of status, which is the green card. But that's another format of travel document. Another one is called a refugee travel document for people that can't use their home country's passport because they're asylees or refugees in the United States. And then, the passport that we all have, most people have, that's also a form of travel document. So travel document is a catch-all term for these things that you need to travel. Okay, Alexander asks, I got an RFE for a medical 2 months ago before the shutdown. Would it be best to get the medical now? Yes, if you got the RFE, so when you apply for a green card within the United States, you have to do a medical checkup with a civil surgeon. They check you out for tuberculosis, gonorrhea, syphilis, if you have any mental health issues, if you get your vaccines and stuff like that. You have to get that and have it prepared for the interview. If you get the notice, that's a good time to start scheduling the interview, scheduling the doctor's appointment to get that so you have it in a sealed envelope ready to go. But this is mandatory now. I'm glad you asked this, Alexander. You have to ask a doctor and don't go to that doctor unless they give you an additional copy of the medical checkup that they're going to put in the sealed envelope, because you have to check their work. Sometimes the doctors are in a rush and they don't put your name on there, or they miss one of the boxes. And if a box is missing, I've seen USCIS officers, especially in Florida, just deny the case, even though it's not your fault. So it's really important that you make sure get that copy, review it. Now, you might not know what to look for in that review, but review it to make sure all the appropriate boxes are marked. Or if you have a lawyer, your lawyer should ask for that, but be prepared for that. AK follows up, says, don't you get interviewed in the U.S. to prove your marriage is real? So when I go for the interview in the U.S., does my wife have to also get interviewed? She's not. No, if your wife is not in the U.S., I've never heard of them doing interviews. Very rare, unless they don't trust you at all. So when you have a marriage green card case and your spouse is overseas, first you submit for an I-130 petition for alien relative. And it's really rare, 1 in a million, that they'll do an interview in person. I mean, I've only rarely heard about something like this. But they don't interview in person. Later on, when your spouse goes to their embassy interview, they'll ask them questions about your relationship there. But essentially, unless they think fraud or really don't trust you, there is no interview individually for the petitioner in the United States. The interview in the United States only happens if the foreign spouse is here and you're both here. And if you're going to do consular processing, they don't always interview for that either. So that's the answer to that. It's bad information you had. Very unlikely, unless they just don't believe you, that they would do an interview for your I-130. Okay, let's move on. Alex says still didn't get interviewed. Yeah, you got to be patient. One of a kind. Thank you so much for your kind words, Alexander. You're welcome. Shahrukh asks, how long will it take to get a green card to file for U visa? I don't know. I have to check the charts. Go ahead and check those charts online to help you. Narish asks, what documents required when we file a marriage case? I mean, that's a big question. I actually have a video I recorded yesterday. I'm going to put out that really goes over the general overview of this. But you can review Form I-130 petition for alien relative. It talks about the bona fide documents that you need for that and what forms are needed. You can also review Form I-485 for adjustment of status, if that's what you're going to do. And it says what documents are needed there. And you can go to the MVC. If you're doing consular processing, the National Visa Center breaks down what documents required there. It's different for different countries, different situations, but this isn't really the form for asking such a large question. And I would just recommend consulting with an attorney in private. There's many websites and videos that talk about detail. Mine's going to be coming out. But you really should get individual attention if you're not going to be reading the forms for yourself and analyzing the case. Information is out there. I mean, the government gives it out exactly what you need, but you got to spend a lot of time reviewing it, or just hire the help of a professional to get it through. White asks, hello, sir. My individual court was done in March, and they asked for a medical report, and I give them. I guess you're going to ask when I give a result. It's whenever they feel like it. So that's the answer to all timeline questions with regards to immigration. Whenever they feel like it, they'll do it. And so you just have to wait. I'm not sure what's going on in your case, White. I'm not sure what's going on, but that's that. You're welcome, Naresh. You're welcome. I appreciate the kind words. So anyways, it's been a hot day. So I'm in Los Angeles, and even 8:30 in the morning, I went for a walk, and it felt like it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, hitting 100 degrees. It's super hot in Los Angeles. I'm not sure how it is where you're at, but let me know. It's I'm inside right now, and I'm all of a sudden feeling the heat still reverberating. Hopefully it cools down a little bit, and we could just relax, because I think it's going to be a heat stretch that's happening. But things are kind of opening up. I went to get gas today, and I saw people were not wearing masks. Everyone's walking their dogs, so it's kind of peaceful. So it's good to see things are opening up. Hopefully, sickness-wise and all that health stuff is going to be okay as well. You're welcome, Wahid. But it's a weird situation to go through, this whole coronavirus stuff. Hopefully things calm down. Hopefully the protests calm down. The situation gets better with peace and all that kind of stuff. Alexander asks, is it possible to file out of state from where you live at? I don't know what that means. Why would you file out of state? That doesn't make sense to me, Alexander. Just, you have to put your address, and then that's it. The question doesn't really make sense. Thank you for the kind words, Source 388. Oh, I appreciate that. So, you just got to go by what's the paper is asking. When they ask you what's your residence, you got to mention it. I mean, I had a person who filed for citizenship, and for some reason she used her mom's address as her residence address, and then for no reason. And her mom had just moved, so she put the start date at a different date. But for citizenship, you have to live in the state that you're living in for at least 3 months before you can file for citizenship. So her mom had just moved for 2 months ago, so she listed her mom's address for 2 months. I think she was thinking, I don't get the mail coming to my address, let me go to my mom's address. But there's a part where it asks, if you want your documents to be mailed somewhere else, let us know where it's supposed to go. Don't just put us out there. So that's the situation with that. Unfortunately, my memory card just got full, so the recording of this will be cut off. But that's that. I hope we'll keep it live and get the recording another day for tomorrow. We're here Monday through Friday, so we'll have more of this. Sunrise asks, I had a reentry permit and stayed outside of the U.S. for 2 years, and now I have been for 4 years and 1 day in the United States. How can I prove that in Form N-400? You need to consult Sunrise with the immigration and private. Just be here 4 years and 1 day is no longer what's going to help you. You've been outside too long. It doesn't look like it's a good case for citizenship, but consult with an attorney in private. Your absences might be really serious, too serious to be able to help you through this process. But really consult with them. There's some issues there for your absences. It looks like you don't qualify, but I'll need to analyze it further. Definitely look into that. Okay, the bill collected. Okay, so we got a question here. User 405 says, does pending medical bills and collection bills affect getting citizenship? I know I did a video on this on YouTube. You can catch it there. But essentially, bad credit is not a problem. But if you haven't paid your taxes and there's people coming to get you like that, it's really taxes more. But they can always do that. It's considered bad moral character for citizenship. Again, they don't typically look at debts and stuff like that. But if you're not paying your medical bills and collections, maybe you haven't paid your taxes either. So look into that and see how it is. But that itself is not typically an issue for citizenship. Alexander follows up, can you file a state where they have a shorter processing period? No. It's not you file in a different state. It's based on where your address is. So you put your residence there and they base it on that, and that's that. There's no playing games, and that's kind of lying. So you don't want to lie to the government and commit fraud for some no reason like that. Okay, so we only got a couple minutes left. If you have some last questions, let me know. And we'll be back again here Friday. What is it? Wednesday. Tomorrow, Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, every Monday through Friday. As long as we got a good lively crew coming, I'm enjoying doing this, answering these questions. I know there's a lot of issues that pop up where people don't understand. They made the process so complicated that it's just really difficult to handle. And just I do this every day, so I know the answers. And a lot of these don't have answers. That's the problem. There's people asking questions. Nobody knows the answers to these because the government just makes things up every day. So you're welcome, Soares. I appreciate that. Actually, we got the live feed being recorded on YouTube. So that might be interesting. Maybe, my recording for the video got cut off, but I could use that recording off YouTube and supplement that part that was cut off. That might be a way to do it. So I got to make sure to save the YouTube feed. I'm glad we did YouTube today. So we're nearing the end of the show today. Thank you all for joining. If you have one last question, let me know, or else we'll call it a day. It's really hot here, so I don't mind kind of settling in. I'm in front of the lights. I'm kind of sweaty. I'm not sure if you can see it in the video. But okay, that's it. So again, if you haven't already, please follow us on TikTok, Immigration Lawyer John. John is John. If you're on YouTube or you want to catch these videos on YouTube, it's JQK Law Firm. And all my social media other than TikTok is JQK Law Firm. We'll have recordings there, more information there, updates. That's a good centralized location to get everything like that. I'm John Khosravi, immigration lawyer, professor of immigration law, and I love helping people out in the immigration process. And with that, we're going to call it a day. Thank you all for joining us. See you all tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific time, Wednesday. Bye-bye.